Hey guys, you're looking at the Anidees AI Crystal, and as you can see I decided to do a water-cooled build with it. So I upload this video so you guys can see how it turned out. I'll pull off the glass panels here in a minute and give you a better look of what's inside. But first I just wanted to show you what it looks like assembled in the low lighting here. The lighting inside the case, by the way, is a couple of 20cm BitFenix white LEDs. They're magnetic LEDs, so I have one stuck to the top of the case, sort of hidden behind the top rad. The other one's on the front case, hidden behind the front rad. Gives it a nice backlighting effect. So yeah, it turned out pretty well. As far as temps go, when gaming, typically 44 degrees Celsius on my 1070. That's the Nvidia Founders 1070, and my CPU, which is a 4790K overclocked to 4.4 gigahertz. It hovers around, I'd say 45 degrees Celsius. So yeah, I'm getting pretty good temps, I think. Let me turn on the lights real quick, just so you can get a better look. Yeah, it pretty much looks like a fractal design. Define R5 or S, whatever, with glass covers. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull off the side panel, front panel, and the back panel and give you a look inside. Okay, so as mentioned earlier, I have the 4790K and the Nvidia Founders GTX 1070. For the motherboard, I went with the MSI Krait. It's a black and white motherboard, very minimal. Looks pretty good in this case, I think. For the memory, I have 16 gigabytes of HyperX Fury. That is 1866 megahertz. I think that's it. As far as the PC components, I'll start talking about the water cooling components, which are all EK, by the way. Starting with the pump, that is the EK-XRES 140. It is a PWM pump. By the way, the tubing is PETG 12mm outer diameter tubing, and the coolant is EK white pastel coolant. I use the concentrate. So anyways, the water leaves the pump, goes up into the front rad. The front rad is also EK. It is the ES360. It's a slim rad. I have another one up here. It's got three 120 SP120 Corsair fans on it. But you have to use these thin rads. You can't go with a thicker rad because you'll run into spacing issues up here if you use two 360 rads. So if you use two 360 rads, they got to be thin rads. Can't go any thicker. You'll also run into some spacing down here. So the water leaves the front rad, goes into the 4790K. That is a EK-Supremacy water cooling block, CPU cooling block. The water leaves the CPU, goes up into the top rad. Same fans, SP120 Corsair 120mm fans. Water leaves the top rad, goes down into the graphics card, and then back down into the reservoir. All the fittings are EK fittings. The drain here goes sort of back behind the pump. I doubt I can give you a good look at it. Let's see, I did do a couple modifications, slight modifications. There was an Anidees logo right here. It's a sticker, sort of this metallic sticker. And I just heated it up with the heat gun, peeled it off. I appreciate that they did that instead of paint the case. I wanted to remove all the branding I can. And I had to drill holes onto this metal shroud to mount the pump, and I drove the screws up through the bottom of the shroud to mount the pump. Pretty simple. Alright, so now I'm going to point out a couple things that I didn't like about the case. So these complaints are pretty minor as far as I'm concerned. I think the biggest complaint about this case would probably be the fact that you have to use the slim rads. That's going to bug a lot of people. Didn't really bug me because I got pretty good airflow. By the way, I forgot to mention I have this one other, that's an AF120 fan, Corsair fan, and I have it set up for intake, so it's bringing in fresh air from my top rad. But anyways, a couple of things that bugged me. Let me take off this magnetic filter. If you look at the top, I hope you can see this, but I have a screw here for my rad that is not supported by the case. There's nothing on the case to drive the screw through. I could use a large steel washer to give it some more support, but I've got it pretty well supported down here. It feels fine, even up here, so I'm not going to worry about it. Pretty minor complaint, really, I think. And my other problem is up here with this top filter. If you have a top rad, 360 rad with screws here on the corners and up front here, you got to trim the magnets on the filter. If you don't, the filter will stick up because the screw heads prop it up, cause the corners to stick up. So yeah, those are my only two real complaints I had with this case, both pretty minor. Now I'll go ahead and turn it around and show you the cable management. Alright, so there you have it. Not the best job. It was a pretty simple job though. There's a case's included fan controller. You can adjust it here to a high and a low. The middle setting actually turns the fans all the way off. And you'll notice these little resistors I have plugged into the fan. Those come with the fan if you get the Silent Edition SP120 or AF120. They just slow the fan down, make them more quiet. Let's see, my power supply is a EVGA 1050G. That is definitely overkill for this build, but the build I took it out of had two AMD R9 290s, so it wasn't quite overkill for that build. For my SSD, I'm using a Crucial 1TB drive. I do not remember the model number for that. I will add it to the description. I also have a Western Digital 1TB drive in there, HDD. I don't remember if that's a blue or a black drive. I'll add that too. But yeah, it's pretty easy as far as cable management goes, mostly because you have the space here between your power supply and your hard drive SSD mounting solution. And I was able to stuff a bunch of cables down there, as you can see. I need to clean that up a little bit. You can also see my terrible job I did on my pump sleeving. I need to clean that up for sure. But yeah, pretty easy to cable manage this case. You can see I don't really have anything that's really sticking out, so it's really easy to put the back panel on. Let's see, I think I covered everything. I apologize for the lighting. It may not be that great, as well as the audio. I am by no means a YouTube expert, if there is such a thing. But yeah, if you have any questions, any comments, go ahead and leave those in the comments section. And I hope I've given you a good idea of what it's like to water cool the Anidees AI Crystal. Thanks.